Hello and welcome to 4am Art. This is Justin, and in this video we're going to be drawing this elephant. We'll be using mechanical pencils along with a white pencil for the highlights, and we'll be doing all of this on Strathmore tone gray paper. This paper is great. It's a different technique. It provides most of the middle tones, the middle values. So then we can use our pencil for the lines, our darker tones, our darker shadows. And as I mentioned, we'll be using a white pencil to get some of the highlights and lighter tones. So it makes for a very nice effect. If you haven't tried using the gray, or there's another one that's tan colored paper, you definitely should check it out. So as usual, I try to put in my basic shapes in first. Take your time with this part because it's the foundation. You want to make sure your proportions are good, and you can always erase and go from there prior to adding details, and then there's no looking back. So I'm using, like I said, mechanical pencils. I have either HB lead, which these pencils usually come with, or 2B lead. So they're basically your standard hardness lead. Can't get really dark tones with it, but you can get light tones just by lightening up on the pressure. And as you'll see, I will switch over to a black mechanical pencil which holds my 4B lead, softer lead, which lets me get some really dark tones. So at this point I'm starting to add some shadows and some detail. And as you can see, the drawing at this point looks kind of flat, not a lot of contrast, which is okay. We're just putting in some of the details, and these darker than mid-tone values start to make this three-dimensional piece of paper drawing a little bit more three-dimensional. Gives the elephant, its head, more volume, um, more depth. And you can see I'm just using some simple patches of hatch lines, and you can see how this is already making this two-dimensional drawing look a little more full, giving it more volume, giving it more of a 3D quality, giving it more depth. And you could even just stop right here and not add any more cross hatching or darker lines, but we'll go ahead and develop this a little more with more contrast. I am doing this in a more graphic style with pronounced outlines, as you can see, and I will make those even darker in a little bit. But quickly putting in these shadows, darker tones with hatch lines really helps to start developing the drawing. And you can always go back, make certain areas a little bit darker, add more cross hatch lines as I mentioned. And now I've moved on to my softer lead. I reserve all my black colored mechanical pencils to hold the softer 4B lead. And now we can get really dark tones. Some of these are just going over lines I've already made prior. Others I'm just developing the tonal gradients. And again, I am really making the outline quite pronounced here. Keep in mind that you want to vary your line width. I tend to reserve the somewhat thinner lines for where the lighter tones would be, and put in some really thick outlines in the shadow areas. I'm adding some crosshatch lines here as well. So in order to get some of the thicker lines, I have to go over it several times, like right here by the ear. When you're in the earlier stages of learning to draw, and even later stages, it's always good to experiment, try different techniques, try different ways of drawing, and look at what other people are doing, because you will find that there's really a lot of different ways, and you'll tend to gravitate towards a certain style that you like. All right, now that we've got our dark areas, shadow areas done, our midtones provided by the paper, I've switched to my white pencil and hitting the bright areas, the areas where the light is hitting it the most. And now we've got our full spectrum of tonal values from the darkest to the lightest, and we're pretty much done. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.